Good afternoon, everyone. Hello from Dubai. It's Thursday, March 12th, 2:30 Dubai time. Welcome, everyone, to another webinar by Meirc Training and Consulting. Please allow me to welcome our participants today. We've got people from Saudi Arabia, Bilad al-Khair al-Ghali. We've got people from Egypt, Lebanon, Sudan. Welcome, everyone. Today's webinar is titled The 2030 Leader. Just before starting, to let you know, we'll be more than happy to share with you the whole presentation after this webinar. And we'll be glad to send you additional articles, readings as needed. So let's get started. Meirc Training and Consulting is celebrating 61 years. That's our new logo, 60 plus years. It's the first training and consulting firm in the Middle East. I will not spend much time on introducing Meirc. You could navigate our website, check the offerings, and know more about us. My name is Hany Ramadhan. I'm Lebanese from Beirut. On a personal level, I introduce myself as 1, 2, 3. For one, my best passion in life is being in the training room, or facilitating webinars such as this one. As for number 2, I have 2 hobbies. I'm an international fitness instructor, and I do acting from time to time. So I play some roles in theater shows. As for number 3, I have 3 kids. On academic level, I have a couple of certifications. The first one is from Liverpool in UK, where I lived for around a year. I got an advanced certification in training, and thank God I was the first one in the Middle East getting this. From USA, I have a management certification from the ICPM, and I'm an executive coach. So I lived in Athens for around 1 year, and then I got the highest degree from the International Coach Federation in USA. I did my EMBA degree in the Lebanese American University in my home country, Lebanon. I hold a level 5 diploma in human resources management from CIPD. And I think we have a couple of colleagues who have HR background. So CIPD is the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in UK. Additionally, I have a degree from the British Psychological Society to read and interpret personality tests. As for my experience, it's divided into 2 parts, as you can see on the screen. So I worked for around 9 years in the hospitality sector as a senior trainer and duty manager. And then I moved to a human resources manager. I was in charge of an insurance company in Bahrain, Jordan, and Lebanon. I worked for 6 years as a training manager for Averda, a waste management company, and Shalhoub Group in Saudi Arabia, specifically in Jeddah. I was the senior HR business partner for 4 years. Finally, just before joining Meirc, I held the role of Group Talent Development Manager for Azadea Group. Azadea Group is the company that has the franchisee, who is the franchisee of many brands in the fashion industry, such as Zara, Massimo Dutti. Shalhoub Group is the franchisee of many brands such as Chanel, Dior, Louis Vuitton, etc. All right, now let's get started. So please stay in touch after this webinar. The best way to reach out is through WhatsApp. That's my mobile number. Please feel free to message me at any time. I promise to get back to you within 24 hours. And I would love to connect with you through LinkedIn. I tried just before this webinar to connect with some of you, and I hope I managed successfully. So if I didn't, please do connect. You could read additional articles, know the latest trends and updates, and I would love to hear more about you in the future. Optionally, you could connect on my Facebook and Instagram accounts. How do you know that this is me? Because you might find many Hany Ramadhan. You could find either Meirc after my name or this picture. And this is taken in our office. All right, what are we covering in the upcoming 30 minutes or so? So the title of this webinar is The Certified 2030 Leader. That's a new upcoming program by Meirc that we haven't launched yet. So you're getting the privilege of getting some information from this webinar. We're going to talk about you as a leader, you as a successful manager, you as a team leader, you as a supervisor, how to lead differently in 4 dimensions. So we're going to talk a bit about the generational differences and how this impact today's leadership style. We'll talk about the cultural differences, which have been there all the time, but today more than ever before, we're talking about diversity and inclusion. We will discuss the personal differences as well, which are very important because no one is like the other. Once you know the personality of your team members, you will be able to lead them differently and get better results. And finally, we'll talk about situational differences and various leadership styles based on the latest theories and researches. All right, ready? Should you have any question, please feel free to type it at any time. Otherwise, we could give you at the end 5 to 10 minutes to ask questions. Please do so. All right, let's get started with a simple riddle. Who is the fastest to know the answer? Please write down in the text box, in the chat box, your answers. February was last month, remember. Some months have 30 days. Some months have 31 days. How many have 28 days? Please write down in the chat box your answer if you know it. Maruf is saying 1, which is February, and Rahman is saying 12. Well done, Rahman. The correct answer is 12, because every month has 28 days. But you got confused because February was last month, and usually February is either 28 or 29. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened to your mind right now is something that I call the brain's laziness. So just a quick thought and learning outcome around this riddle before getting into our 4-dimensional leadership. What happened to you is what I call brain's laziness. So trust me, our brain is lazy. It is programmed to take the fastest and easiest decisions in life. Everyone's brain. So this is why, and I was putting you under pressure. Who is the fastest to write the answer? So you might fall into the trap of your brain's laziness. How to avoid falling into the trap of our brain's laziness? Just 2 things. Analyze and write some notes before taking action, before reacting, before giving your answer. This is all what I ask you to do. So a key learning or key takeaway, whenever you want to take any decision at work, whenever you're asked for your opinion at work by any colleague or manager, just breathe, count to 10, analyze, write some notes before answering. All right. 4-dimensional leadership, or the 2030 leader. Dimension 1 is generational. Dimension 2 is cultural. Dimension 3 is personal. 4 is situational. Now, definitely, that's a 5-day workshop. During the upcoming 20 or 30 minutes, I will give you a snapshot on that workshop. However, we'll definitely not be able to cover it. So let's get started with the dimension 1, which is generational. In this workshop and in this webinar, in the future workshop and this webinar, we will be only discussing generation Y and generation Z. Why only these 2 generations? Because the previous generations are about to retire. And here we're talking about the upcoming 10 years. All right, let's have a quick look on these 2 generations. So, generation Y are people born between 1980 and 1995, as you know, or you might know. Generation Z are people born between 1996 and 2015. I guess we have some people in this webinar from generation Y, but none from generation Z, because they did not enter the workforce yet. Generation Z are people who will enter the workforce in the upcoming 10 years. Generation Z are our children. It's very important, extremely important to understand the differences. Let us generalize or stereotype. Remember, this is dimension 1. In dimension 1, we are generalizing, we are stereotyping because it's not 100% true. But if we do generalize or stereotype, these are some traits about Generation Y or the millennials. They are extremely self-sufficient. Please do write some comments if you are from this generation, if you agree with these traits. They are confident. They are curious. They question authority. You cannot micromanage them. You have to lead them differently. They prefer emails over face-to-face communication. However, pay attention. We are generalizing here again. I'll come to dimensions 2 and 3 and 4 where you can be a better transformational leader, where we will be more specific. Their attention span is only 12 seconds. Imagine. Biggest source of stress is choice overload. They are optimistic about their personal future, despite many challenges such as COVID-19 nowadays. They are collaborative. They are achievement-oriented. They are highly creative and very positive. Now, what about this generation? Ladies and gentlemen, during the workshop, we will explore, if you have the chance to attend this workshop, we will explore many technologies that impacted business, Generation Y, and the leaders nowadays, such as artificial intelligence, 5G, autonomous driving, personalized and predictive medicine, computer vision, extended reality, blockchain technology. So if you are a 21st century leader, if you are a 2030 leader, you cannot not have information about these technologies and the impact on your business and role, regardless of your industry. What about Generation Z? So Generation Z, remember, are people born 1996 onward, or called iGen, our children, people who will be entering the workforce in the upcoming 10 years. They never knew a life without technology. They are ambitious. They are digital natives, confident. They prefer to communicate via texting rather than face-to-face. They keep texting all the day. They never heard of flipping mobiles. Do you remember, or do some of you remember the flipping mobiles? Their attention span is very low, 8 seconds only, even lower than Generation Y, much lower than Generation X, or people like me who were born in 1980 or before. Their biggest source of stress? Haha, I know, that's funny, but it's so true. And I'm sure parents of you can assure that. Mobile separation anxiety. They are optimistic about the future. They are, and that's good. Again, despite Corona or COVID-19, they are optimistic. They are competitive. They want independence. This is why we're gonna see more entrepreneurs in the upcoming years, more than ever before. And they are multitasking, which is a great trait. So the biggest question is, just before moving to the second dimension, the cultural, how will you deal with these people differently? As per Forbes magazine 2019-2020, listen very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, to the top 9 jobs in the upcoming 5 years. We already have some of these. If you work in HR, in recruitment, or in any managerial role, listen very carefully to these top 9 jobs as per Forbes magazine. Number 1, by the way, not in any order, not in any ranking, random order. 1, digital marketing analyst. 2, cloud specialist. 3, blockchain specialist. 4, transformation manager. 5, that's funny, but true, Uber driver. 6, data scientist. 7, big data architect. 8, iOS and Android developer. 9, innovation and sustainability manager. And I think number 9 is very important. Lucky companies who have someone holding the role of innovation and sustainability manager nowadays, because COVID-19 looks like a Hollywood movie. If a company has someone in that role, this person should have planned various contingency plans to keep the company sustainable. Innovation, whatever needs to be done. I hope that this crisis doesn't go on. Everyone is impacted, I assume, including we at Meirc. But if it goes on for longer, many companies will go bankrupt. So this is a new role. Again, generational differences, to close the subject and move to the second dimension, are very important. We talked about Gen Y and Gen Z, and we talked about the top jobs in the market in the upcoming 5 years. We talked about the new technologies, and most importantly, how you should deal differently with these people to keep them motivated, engaged, highly performing, and to retain your best talents. Let's move to dimension 2, cultural. We all come from different countries, different backgrounds, different families. So that's the second dimension, and this is why I'm putting as a background this picture. Please allow me to share with you the latest experience, the latest workshop that I facilitated at Meirc 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, I was facilitating a program at Meirc here in Dubai, in one of the hotels in Dubai. And I had a group of people coming from different backgrounds, cultures, obviously. You know, in Dubai, we have this blessing. We get exposed to people from different countries. I'm going to share with you, and I'm quoting the same exact words that 2 of my participants mentioned during the last workshop 2 weeks ago here in Dubai. So here we go. Let's start with the first one. Of course, I'm not mentioning the nationality, neither the country. That's not our purpose. On the contrary, in dimension 2, you as a leader, you as a manager should learn the diversity and the inclusion. And this is a very hot topic nowadays, not only in US, all over the world, especially in Dubai. So back to my latest experience. So one of my participants, she's a lady. She came to me in front of everyone, and I'm quoting her words. She told me, Mr. Hany, although I don't like to be called Mr. Hany, but she called me Mr. Hany, I'm quoting, I want to pee. I want to pee. I want to go to the bathroom. Now, you might be shocked, but in her culture, that's very normal. In her country, they use this term in public. Second example. We were trying to take a group picture. And when taking this group picture, the most senior person told me, I'm not mentioning again his nationality or his background, just to give you a few examples on the importance of diversity and inclusion. He told me, hey, in my country we go by hierarchy. You're asking all of us to stand up during the group picture. I will sit down and you sit down next to me because I'm the most senior person among this group of people. And he was so serious. I still remember the face of my colleague, the photographer. She was shocked. And after the photo, she started crying. She told me, Hany, was this a joke? Was it serious? Third story, third example. All of these, by the way, happened 2 weeks ago in one of my workshops in Dubai. I'm not sharing someone else's story, and I'm quoting the same words. So dimension 2, cultural. Third one of the participants came to me. She told me, Hany, yes, you know, at the beginning of day 2, at Meirc, we ask our participants, how was day one? Because, many people come to Dubai 2-in-1. They come to enjoy Dubai and to learn from Meirc. So I asked them, what did you do yesterday evening? And one of the participants in front of everyone in public, she told us, I took a shower and I went to my colleague's room almost naked. And, I was just making a joke, and I told him, how was your evening? And he was looking at me. She was sharing this story in public. In this part of the world, in the Middle East, in Arabic countries, in the GCC specifically, there is no way, not even in dreams, a lady can share such a joke, can share such a story. That was a true story in front of everyone. Then we went to lunch. During lunch, because we conduct frequently training in different hotels, then the restaurant manager, trying to be nice, came to me and asked me, Hany, welcome back. What can we offer you extra other than the buffet items? And I tagged him, he insisted. So he brought, like a big plate of French fries in the middle and another smaller plate on my side and the other colleagues. And two of the participants were grabbing fries from my plate. I'm very serious. This happened to me 2 weeks ago. Now, despite my worries about Corona and COVID-19, that's a cultural thing. In their culture, they consider and they explained to me because they read my facial expressions when I was surprised. Although we're exposed to different cultures, but sometimes you get exposed to extreme examples. They told me, Hany, in our culture, when we eat from your plate, this means that we love you, we respect you, we care about you. So our cultural difference is important, absolutely. And finally, when we were closing the whole week, that was a 5-day workshop. 3 participants from another country, from the same country came to me and told me, Hany, in our country and culture, we love gifts. And you didn't give enough gifts. Although I have distributed some giveaways such as chocolates, I gave a book for the best participant based on voting and specific criteria. But to them, that was not enough. To them, I was not generous. So they were very serious and they told me, although we enjoyed the learning experience, but you should have gave us more gifts. The biggest question before moving to dimension 3 is diversity and inclusion important? How will this impact your management styles, ladies and gentlemen? How will this affect your team's performance if you're not aware of it? What are the most common and different values among your team members in your current employer and in your next one? In this dimension, we explore cultural dimensions as per Hofstede's style. All right, third dimension, personal traits, personality differences. I'm sure most of you, if not all, have already done at least one personality test in their life. Guys, if you haven't, please do it tonight. Go to Google, go to the net, choose a free of charge or paid personality test and do one. It's very important to have a self-discovery. It's extremely beneficial to know your traits, your weaknesses, your strengths, your competencies. Very important. In our workshop, in this new workshop titled the 2030 Leader, we give the chance to every participant to know more about themselves. We give them interpretive reports and we encourage them to discover their team members' personalities. So I'm not mentioning any name here. Please don't ask me for names. We don't advertise any personality test. There are plenty over the net. Just do one. Know more about yourself. That's a great self-discovery. Extremely important. All right, moving on. The last dimension is called situational. And here I'm not talking only about the situational leadership model by Blanchard and Hershey. Here we're talking more about different models, such as Mintzberg management rules, Beer and Nohria E&O theories, The fifth discipline, view from the top, very famous and hot topic by Harvard and Stanford University nowadays. So this is what we need to know. And then once we put it all together, you will be able to become a 2030 leader. You will be a four-dimensional leader. This is a wrap-up of the four dimensions. So, dimension one, generational. Remember, we're only focusing on the differences between generation Y and Z. We're discovering generation Y and Z traits in a holistic view in order to adapt our leadership style. Dimension two is cultural, countries, backgrounds, families, values, specifically diversity and inclusion. Dimension three, personal, traits and competencies, how to build on them. And the final one is situational. So even if you understand the generational differences, this is, remember, generalizing stereotyping. It helps, but it's not enough. Which helps more is understand the cultural differences of your team members. Which helps even more, a deeper one, is the personality differences. But the deepest one is the situational. Even with the same person, you need to adapt different leadership styles based on the situation, the task, the complexity, the maturity of the team member, the relationship, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our references for this webinar, for this short webinar. BBC News, Vision Critical, HBR, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, and Management Help. Now, I'll give you a few seconds to type in your question. Please do it now. So, ladies and gentlemen, please write down any question or any comment, any valuable thing you would like to share with us today. And again, I thank everyone. We've got people from Lebanon, we've got people from Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Egypt, India. Hi. Oh, Randa, how are you, my dearest friend? Randa, it's a great privilege to have you in this webinar. I hope to catch up soon. Randa, please, if you have any valuable comment, you're a great asset, and I'm sure you can add value. All right, so how can I describe the ideal 2030 leader, in my opinion? First of all, if you agree, in my humble opinion, there is no ideal leader. There is a good leader, great leader, excellent leader. Ideal, it's never ideal for one single reason. We are dealing with a human being. We are dealing with people who are so diverse, who are so different, who have different needs, different motives. So it's not ideal, but it can be really good or great if we, again, I'm going back to this slide, if we deal with our team members on these four dimensions. We need to understand first from which generation they come and then adapt accordingly. The ideal leader, dear Randa, is this picture. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see this picture? I'm highlighting it. This is the ideal leader, not the brand. Excuse me, I'm not advertising the brand. You have to be a chewing gum. A great leader in 2030 is a chewing gum, super flexible, extremely agile. I change my leadership style based on my team members, based on their generations. This is why I need to understand their traits. I'm a great leader when I embrace diversity and inclusion and I literally treat people equally. I'm a 2030 leader if I understand their personalities, their traits, their competencies, their strengths and weaknesses. I build on their strengths and help them to overcome weaknesses. I'm a 2030 leader if I'm situational, Even with the same person, I deal with him or her differently depending on the task and many other factors. So, and a 2030 leader, finally, as we discussed a bit, should understand the new jobs, the new dynamics in the upcoming 10 years, the new technologies, and leverage on that. Randa, I hope I answered your question. Please feel free to add comments or questions. Giving few seconds to others. Thank you, Randa. Hope to see you soon. All right, 10 more seconds to type. Last opportunity to type any question or comment. Otherwise, please stay safe. Looking forward to see you in the 2030 Leader Workshop. And Randa is asking about the manager of 2030. So basically, this goes back to the same areas. Regardless, there is, of course, a difference between a manager and a leader. But when we talk about the upcoming period, you know, the upcoming challenges are very similar. Yes, dear Mr. or Mrs. Rahman, I cannot read your first name for a reason. I'm not sure, it's a technical from my side. Anyway, you will receive a copy of the presentation from my colleague who is copied in this webinar. Don't worry. If you don't, please go back to my contact details at the beginning or reach out at any time, but you will receive it. My pleasure, my pleasure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this wonderful afternoon. I hope you captured something. I highly recommend reflecting on what will you do differently around and based on the 4 dimensions in your current and future leadership style. Take care for now. Stay safe. God bless you all. This is Hany Ramadhan again from Meirc Training and Consulting. Thank you. Have a wonderful time wherever you are. Thank you.
Meirc.com